Hi, I'm Beth Genly, and I'm here to welcome you back to whatever the name of this summit is. I forgot again. Oh, Running on Empty. All right, we'll try that again.
I think that's a perfect intro.
Okay, carrying on. This is Running on Empty, and some days are better than others. Thank you. I was going to stop the recording and go over, but yes, that's a perfect intro. Today, I am delighted to introduce you to Tina Greenbaum. She's an optimal performance specialist, a sports psychology consultant, a highly trained psychotherapist, and author. She's driven by her mission to educate organizations and individuals on the importance of peak performance. I think we're all there, along with stress management skills. She provides cutting-edge technology necessary to function in high-stress environments, including the latest in neuroscience, energy psychology, sports psychology, Western learning theory, and ancient practices of the East. So you can tell that she was somebody we just had to talk to. Welcome to the summit, Tina.
Oh, thank you, Beth. Thank you so much.
And thanks for your humor and relaxation with this. So we're talking about mastery under pressure today, which is certainly the theme of this whole summit. How did you come to put that program together?
Well, it goes back to my early days when I was just a beginning therapist. It's now 35 years. And my first job was working on an eating disorders unit at the Washington Hospital Center in Washington, D.C. At that time, eating disorders was a brand new field. Nobody really knew how to treat these very interesting and creative, yet very difficult clients. And so they gave us a manual that said alcoholism. They crossed it out, put eating disorders, and they said, go. Woof. You know, so I don't know about you, and I'm sure of your audience, we like to be successful, right?
Yes.
I was not being successful. And I used to say to the girls, and they were girls because they were high school, mostly high school, maybe early college. And I'd say, I hear you, but I don't feel you. You know, and again, just as a beginning therapist, intuitively, I knew that if I couldn't get somehow into the heart and below the neck, then we were just talking. And that was my very traditional Western training, you know, and at that time it was, you know, it was like, and at some point it's like, I have answers maybe that you don't. Why should I make you struggle so much? But my first clue was at a yoga class, the first class I had ever gone to. And when they do Shavasana and they put you into this corpse pose and bring you into this deep state of relaxation, I said, wow, if I could only get those girls to do this, then maybe they wouldn't need their eating disorder. And so that was the beginning. And I was right. I just didn't realize what a journey it was going to take me on. But the mind and the body are intimately related. And so stress and being able to manage stress requires both how you deal with your nervous system and then also how you think. Because as one of my teachers said at one point, there's nothing that gets registered in the mind that doesn't get registered in the body, and vice versa.
And if we're not noticing the body, if we're cut off from here down and we're only living up here, then all that stress and tension, all that registration of whatever challenges we're facing is kind of steering without us realizing, I would think.
Many times. And at the same time, what's happening internally is your nervous system is in high alert. Well, your brain is in high alert, and the hormones, the stress hormones, are flooding your brain and your body. And so if you've ever been highly anxious and trying to think at the same time, it's really difficult because, number one, your energy just leaves the body. It just goes, it's way up here.
Yeah.
The brain is flooded with these hormones that take away the ability. They're survival things, but high intellectual thinking and writing and doing all the things that are really important, we don't have access to.
So what you're saying is when we're that stressed, we can't get our best work done, and we certainly can't feel good and energized.
Absolutely correct.
So that sounds like positive psychology to me, but I've heard you say that positive thinking is highly overrated. So tie those together for me.
Okay, so it's good to be positive and have an outlook that we can handle things, that life will get better, that there's an element of resiliency underneath here. And resilient thinking, resilient people have a certain quality of thinking. But if we just take that concept of, I'm going to put this into a positive phrase, you know, I'm stressed out about money, I'm stressed out about time, but I have all the money in the world, you know, I'm just going to, and so it has a serendipitous quality to me. It's kind of, it's a good thing, but it's not all. Many times, how many times, and I'm sure everybody that's on this show or listening to this has heard, you know, we need to stop the you know, the negative talk, and we have to replace it with a positive thought. What happens?
I say it all the time, so I'm not following you entirely.
Okay, so what happens when you can't do that?
Yeah.
You tell yourself to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and then the mind just keeps circling.
Yeah.
Or you tell yourself to do that, and you're still feeling crappy. You don't feel better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just that it's incomplete.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I'm with you now.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So what do we do when we would like to be positive, but it just isn't happening?
Okay. So a couple things. One of the things that I like to do is I really like to get at the source of what that negativity is really about. So
instead of walking away from it and saying, oh, la, 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 life is good, what's the problem here? You walk right into it.
I walk right into it.
Challenging.
That's right. So I'll give a transparent example today, okay, because this is one of the stressors that I'm working on. And I'm changing my mail database, right?
Oh, technology.
So it's not only that, it's I'm changing it and somebody's doing it for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not in control of the timing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But if it goes past a certain time, I'm going to be charged for another month that I don't want to pay for, because I'm doing this for many reasons. I don't need such a sophisticated system, but I'm also looking at like where I'm spending money unnecessarily, and I don't want to spend. So I'm feeling pressure.
Uh-huh. Money is almost always a source of emotional pressure.
Money, and I'm not in control of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Double whammy.
Double whammy. So the way that I think about this, okay, so number one, I identify why am I feeling pressured? Where's the pressure coming from?
Mm-hmm.
How much of it do I put on myself? And how much of it am I in control of, and how much am I not in control of, right? So I ask very strategic questions and I attempt to get the feelings out of it a little bit, okay? So that I can
By out of it, what do you mean?
Well, in other words, so that I can be objective,
okay,
rather than subjective. And because when we're in a stressful situation, when we're feeling burned out, we're in the feelings,
mm-hmm.
in the emotion. If we stay in it, we can't see our way out.
Uh-huh.
Okay? We may be in it, but we also, if we have that third eye, that observer, oh, I get it. I get why you're stressed. Okay, let's look at how we're going to problem solve and get yourself out of this situation. So if we have that third eye, the witness, we call it, there's a lot of different names for it, we can be both in it, but we also have an advisor.
Uh-huh. And it's in your head, you're saying, usually. This
in my mind. So, all right, so I'm thinking of this thing. All right, one of my first questions, what's in my control, what's out of my control? Okay, what's in my control is how I look at the situation. What are the consequences? What's the worst case scenario that's going to happen if I lose, I have to pay for the month? Am I going to die from that? Absolutely not.
I'm glad to hear it.
So I start to put it in context. What's the worst possible thing that's going to happen to me?
Mm-hmm.
I want it this way. And this is a really big thing that helps me, again, all the time. My expectation is over here. Okay, these people are going to come through for me. I'm going to take care of the situation. It's going to be one thing off my plate. That's my expectation. Reality is, okay, I'm not hearing from them. And, you know, this charge is already on my card and I have 24 hours or maybe till the end of the day to get it off my card.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I have to get my reality over here. This is my expectation. That ain't happening. I'm over here. Okay. What's the worst that's going to happen? Okay. So pay the charge. You know, I'll lose a month. I won't. I'll be okay. And then the stress begins to calm down.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that stress is an energy sucker that we're talking about here, and it just pulls away your ability to decide clearly or to have energy to enjoy the rest of your day. I'm guessing that's part of it here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and so we can apply this over and over and over and over again to every situation that you're feeling stress. It's like, where is the stress coming from? Am I putting it on myself? Well, really, basically, I am, because I want something to happen in a time frame that I don't have any control over.
Excuse me. Oh, I almost sneezed. Sorry. Okay, so I want to. As I was starting to sneeze, my mind was going a little bit. In my language and the way I think about this, what you're describing is a switch from emotion coping focused, where you're emotion focused coping. I'm having a day. Emotion focused coping, where you're stuck in the feelings, but maybe you're not coping very well. And what you're describing is how to transition yourself by noticing those feelings and recognizing that they're real. That's how you transition into the problem focused coping.
That's right. That's a beautiful description.
Good.
Beautiful
Cool.
description. Yes.
Cool. Because that's a challenge that we face. We want to say, well, I'm just being emotional about this. Let me be logical, and it's that switch again that we're not achieving.
Right.
You know,
so,
it's like
so what you pointed out, which is so critical, again, what we talked about, is we have to face what's going on. Okay, our tendency is we don't want to face these things. Okay, we don't want to look at the bank account sometime. We don't want to look at this. We don't want to look at where our business is. We don't want to look at a lot of these things, because if we look, oh my God, then what? Okay, but if we look, then we're now back in charge. You may not like what we see, but now we are back in charge to make those changes and those shifts so that then we can get on our way again.
Awesome.
Right?
Awesome. So you're talking about a cure for procrastination here.
That's right.
I love that too.
So procrastination is connected to fear. Some way, shape, form, or another. It's kind of a little disguise of people say, oh, I do really great on deadlines. And well, we might want to look at that a little bit further. Okay, what happens if you actually do it ahead of time? Well, I'm not creative, I'm not this, I'm not that, but what really happens? And then we start having to tell the truth to ourselves. I don't know what to write. You know, I don't know if it's going to be good. I don't know if, if I'm good enough. I mean, there's a million different things that go on under the surface. And if we don't look at it, it controls us instead of us controlling it. So one of my favorite things that an example, okay, and I actually got this from Deepak Chopra in a book maybe about 20 years ago, okay? So if you imagine that this is, we've got magnetic filings here, right? And then on a piece of paper. And we move the filings around from under here, right? And it looks like magic, but this is the unconscious, okay? So the unconscious rules us. And if we don't have access to it, we don't know how to reach it. And if we don't pay attention to it, we are just always at effect, reacting all over the place. And once we learn, and again, from my experience and my training and what works for me is, if I connect to the body, you know, I'm feeling the stress on my shoulders. It's like I start to know, okay, where's it coming from? You know, if my muscles feel really tight, what's going on here? You know, or my mood is really flat. Why am I in a bad mood? what just happened? I was in a good mood 5 minutes ago, and then now something has shifted. What happened? Oh, I remember when that person just said those words to me, and they were really hurtful. Mm-hmm. Now that gives me direction. I may need to go back to that person. So we have just a brilliant system here that if we're in relationship, we have a guide.
That's wonderful. All right. So I have another question for you about things that I've heard you say that seem like it relates right to this. You've used the term Olympic level mindset. What does that mean?
Okay. Well, if you were an Olympian, or now the World Cup is on, and when we're filming this, if you were a high-level athlete or a high-level performer, you would no sooner go out there without training the mental side than the man in the moon. Really? But if we look at our businesses, just as an example, so if you think of a triangle, and here's your area of expertise. Okay, so for mine, it's psychotherapy, it's psychology, it's spirituality. This is my area of expertise, right? And now I'm in business, so I want to take my area of expertise into the marketplace. Mm-hmm. And this is where most businesses spend all of their time, going back and forth in here, okay? But we have a third side of the triangle, which is the mental side, which fuels everything else. If I'm not feeling up to it, like I did not have a great night's sleep last night, and I've got a whole lot of stuff on my plate, and I go to sit down to start making calls and this and that, I can feel my brain is not here. So if I'm not paying attention to that and I try to plow through it, no, but I know myself well enough. Okay, so, maybe I will take a nap this afternoon, get my energy back. All right. And maybe later on this afternoon, I'll do some of those things that I want to get done. Right. But I have to pay attention to this piece. We all have certain areas of the day or time. Again, talking about burnout, we have times of the day that we're really good. And then times of the day where our energy is just, our attention is. So wouldn't it be great to kind of put those things in the beginning of the day or the end, however it is that you work, where you're highly productive, or getting up and after 45 minutes or an hour, or an hour and a half at the most, because the brain can't focus much longer than that. And so again, knowing things about yourself, knowing about your body, knowing how you feel about things, what brings you energy, what kind of makes you flat. So if you try to plow through these things and you don't pay attention, we very likely will become depressed. Mm-hmm. So one of the best definitions I ever heard of depression was depressed presence.
Oh, very interesting. Tell us about depressed presence.
Okay. So right now, I told you that I was a little stressed today. I had I didn't have a lot of sleep, but being on here with you, I'm very present. Mm. Because this is something I love doing. I love sharing what I have and sharing this with you. So I'm here. Okay? If I spent my day after day after day doing the things that didn't inspire me, didn't excite me, didn't challenge me, and I didn't really pay a lot of attention to it, and I'm sure I'm describing many people in terms of their work, because there's a very small percentage of people that really, really love their work. Okay, that presence, that life force of who we are, our spirit, becomes submerged. And then we're operating kind of flat. Mm-hmm. And over time, it becomes very frequently either burnout or some other stress-related illness.
Or both.
Or both.
Yes.
Okay, I've experienced both. I don't know about you, but I sure have.
Been there, done that.
Right? And so we want to be in connection with ourselves. Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of the biggest message that I could give to anybody. If you don't spend time in some kind of practice, some kind of checking in, we get up, we when we look at our phone, you know, we're off to work, we're off of this, taking care of other people, go, okay. And we never, if we don't take the time, like, what's going on with me today? You know, what do I have to do? How am I feeling? How am I feeling about my work? Or, you know, what's happening here? Or just saying those gratitudes, or I like to keep a journal and meditate every day. I don't do it every day. I don't get to it every single day, but it is my baseline. And the days that and most days, they're the best days that I have. Mm-hmm. So I always tell people, you really can't go to that place where of inner peace and that quiet without some kind of practice, because you're having to train again the nervous system to be calm. And when the body is calm, the mind is clear.
Mm-hmm. So if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is that the body and mind are not separate, and that paying attention to our mental emotional state means paying attention to the body, and paying attention to what the body's feeling means paying attention to our mental emotional state.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's how it relates to Olympic level high performing athletes, is that they have to be all one focus, all one direction, totally zeroed in on what it is they have to perform in those seconds or minutes. And that means having all the pieces on board.
That's exactly right.
Energized.
Good job. Again,
Thank
Beth.
you.
Good job. Yes. Okay, because when we practice something, we practice it over and over and over and over and over again, okay, it goes into that part of it goes into the mind that has it. We don't have to think about it, just like driving a car, mm-hmm. you know, or just, you know, getting on a bike, or any of those things that we practice and repeat and practice and repeat. It's in our nervous system, right? And so we have to learn to trust it, that it's there for us. So if I'm an Olympic level athlete, or, you know, or a business person or a speaker or a presenter, I have to practice and trust that it's going to be there for me, because I have to pay attention to other things that we call task-related cues. Mm. Okay? So let's imagine if you're looking at your computer, you know, you've got a rectangle here, okay, and that space is finite. And so we'll use, let's say, being a presenter, because I would imagine, again, some of your audience are speakers and presenters, and even if they're not doing it professionally, you're at work, you have to make a presentation, right?
Sure.
So you want to think about the things that you have to think about if you're going to be spot on. Okay, so if I'm a presenter, number one, I have to have eye contact. I have to have presence. I have to be aware of what's happening around me. I have to be aware of the room, let's say, or the audience. I have to, if I'm speaking, and maybe want to walk through the audience and connect with people. And that's really it. Okay, and sort of have practiced it enough so that I know where I'm going. And if I do all of those things, I'm going to have a really good presentation. Okay, because anything that goes outside of that goes into the unconscious, and we don't have it anymore. Mm-hmm. So imagine, again, we've got this rectangle, and I'm giving this presentation, and I'm saying, oh my God, that person's on their phone, they're not paying attention to me. Or I forgot what I was going to say. And then I lose my focus. And then I start beating myself up. I can't believe I did that. Well, now we had that finite space. Now you've used about 50% of it feeling bad about yourself. Mm-hmm. And you can't possibly have a good presentation. Okay? That's sort of those answers.
Okay, good. I love this. So I'm hearing a lot of, you're pulling in from neuroscience, you're pulling in from spiritual, or at least mindfulness practice, you're pulling in from your long experience working with clients at business levels and personal levels.
Yes.
What else do you bring to this space?
I think probably the thing that I would want people to kind of take away from this is I work on myself. Probably that's the central figure, the central theme of how I'm able to do what I do, because I pay attention. I pay attention to those feelings. I pay attention to the pressures that I'm experiencing. I pay attention to the people I connect with. I pay attention to, I'm present. So when we're present, we can make those corrections without going into la la land for a long time. And so one of my favorite stories about that is I had a client one time who was highly anxious, and he would walk into my office and he had a tape recorder. So again, that, you know how long ago this is. And he would take it and he would put it on my desk and he'd say, "Can I tape the session?" I said, "Of course you can tape the session. It's your session." Right? So he comes in one day and he slams the thing down on my desk and he starts cursing. "I don't know what you do to me," and really angry. He said, "But I walk in here and I'm really anxious, and I walk out and I'm really calm, and I can't find it on the tape. I can't find what you do to me." Right? And so I said, what I do is I work on myself, because as we clear the energies that are stuck, we all have patterns that we have established from early on. And these are frequently our blind spots. And these are frequently the things that hold us back. So it's just, I did a presentation last night and there was a guy who said, and he's a salesman, he said, "Yeah, you know, I get to go on the phone and they say, oh, they don't really want to talk to me. You know, and I'll wait until I have something really important to say." And there goes his sales, right? But if we were to work on that part of him that fears rejection and feels like people don't want to hear from him, because it's registered in the body. We can find it in the body. We clear that energy. Now we have a bigger container. So this work is really about expanding your personal container to be able to hold more of life's energies.
Ooh, I love it. Okay.
More of life's ambiguities.
Oh, that too.
Live in a world of opposites, right? We want it black and white. It's not black and white.
It's black and white and a lot of colors in between.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And so then when we come back to that idea of positive thinking,
yes,
right? I prefer to look at the things. Again, I had a client many years ago who was very dark, like really dark, a handsome, smart, young attorney. He was a beautiful person, but he was dark. And he said to me one day, he said, "How do I know that the way that you look at the world is any better than the way I look at the world?" I said, "I have no idea. I just feel better than you do."
Well, speaking of that, and given our time constraints, what gift are you offering our listeners today so that they can help to feel better and bring their energy up?
Okay, so I have a list of 5 tips for mastery under pressure, and they're really good tips. They're not just a little talk. They are exercises, and they deal with focus, relaxation, dealing with negative self-talk, how to visualize, and transforming fear. So it's jam-packed full in these 5 little tips, but I think that any one of them can begin to make a shift in somebody's life. And I say that with all sincerity.
Wow, that sounds really powerful. So we will link to that in our show notes and in the email that we send out with this interview. And I really encourage people to go grab that, because Tina knows whereof she speaks and she's got powerful information for us.
Thank you. Thanks so much for the opportunity to share.
Thank you for joining us. This has been a fascinating interview. I learned a few things.
Good.
All right.